Okay. Next data processing technique, we're going to deal with SDA, Smart Data Access. So even by using Smart Data Access, we can basically access the data from different sources into HANA database. This does not need any of the other tools. Just with HANA, we can do this. So by using Smart Data Access, you get connected to the source database and consume the source database as virtual tables in HANA. Now, so what SAP has done is to get connected with the Smart Data Access, they've given certain set of adapters. Select star from, if you say adapters, this will tell me what all adapters we have. So these are like, you can understand like these are like interfaces through which you can get connected to different sources. Like AAC ODBC to connect AAC database, IQ ODBC to connect to Sybase IQ, HANA to HANA. There's another ODBC Teradata bus and Hive ODBC, Oracle, MS SQL, DB2, Netza, This is like generic ODBC which can get connected to any database through which you can establish a ODBC, open database connectivity bus. These are all databases. Same way you have other options like Twitter adapter, MS SQL EC. When I say MS SQL EC adapter, this will be the adapter when you want to connect to an SQL date ECC system which is running on MS SQL. There is a BW adapter also which can connect remotely to a BW system. This also MS SQL log reader adapter is also used to connect ECC running on SQL. HANA adapter again connecting to another HANA database. File adapter getting connected to flat files through which you can remotely connect the flat files. See, till here it was the standard ones which are delivered by SAP by default with the HANA database. And the down ones were registered explicitly by using something called data provisioning agent, which is a separate licensing from SAP. So how did I get these here? If you So you'll have something called SAP HANA Data Provisioning Agent, which we have to install it separately. You'll have a Linux version or you'll have Windows version. And I've installed this SAP HANA Data Provisioning Agent with Windows version. So you should have a Windows Server OS. On Server OS, you install this agent, and you connect this agent to the Cubex my HANA database. And you just click on this button, register agent. But it says, what does it says? Agent is already registered. I've already connected to the HANA database. Now, if I go to SQL and say, select star from agents, I've got agent old, agent 55. I've got 3 agents I've actually registered. 3 times I just clicked on this button. Okay, if you say unregistered, the agent is unregistered. I'll tell you what is the purpose of agent later, but now don't worry. So once you have this connected like this, let's say I want this is the adapter I wanted. You'll just select this and say register the adapter and deploy. You say just click on register adapter. Now it says what it says? Register is registered with HANA. That's why I'm able to see this in what? In the adapter list. Say a BW you want you can say register adapter. Say for example DB2 ECC adapter is not registered yet. If you just click on this and say register agent, yes. The issue, but you can just click, there's something missing out, but if you just click in, you start getting to see that adapter here. And moreover, there is some SDK available where you can deploy, you can develop your own adapters also with jar files and actually Java relevant files. You can develop some jar files, you can develop your own adapter and deploy also. and whatever is deployed, it can be registered into HANA. You can develop your interfaces also. So like this, I've registered my adapters. Now using these adapters, I'll start getting connected to the sources. Simple, which is what we refer to as remote source. So by leveraging these adapters, I'll create a remote source which is connecting to my source systems and start consuming the database tables of the source as virtual tables in HANA. And no loading, nothing. Straight away, I'm consuming the table in source as virtual, like remote cube in BW. Okay. Now, where do you do that? I have these adapters, right? What is tab? Fold. We have a folder called what? Provisioning. You can right click on this remote source folder and say what? New remote source. You can just give some name and choose. See, you get to see all the adapters here. Let's say which adapter do you want to connect to something. Yeah. Say, let's say my requirement is to connect to ECC, which is this is my ECC system. Okay. And what is the database of the system? ECC is MS. So I would like to connect this ECC, which is running on MS SQL, as a remote source to my HANA system. So can I use this? I'll say Q7. Instead of giving some name, Q7 remote ECC. Then I'll use this MS SQL ECC adapter. And then the source location, it is going to use some agent. Okay. It will ask me all what is the instance name, port, data server, port server, DCA port, database name, and all this stuff, and start giving it and establish a connection. Done. That's it. And once the connection is established, you can start consuming. Like this, I already have created a connection already. Expand this. I have this EHP. If you see this, I said EHP remote, ECC remote, MS SQL ECC adapter. This is agent, and this is just an instance name. Any name you can give it. And generally, the administration port is like 12345. This is the IP address of my database server, and 1433 is the port for my SQL database, SQL Server database. DAC port ఇది 33 ఉంటే ఇది 34 ఉంటుంది actually. Basis will give you all those details. And my database is EHP and schema is lowercase, okay. And then I just gave some username and password already given. Like this, I've established a connection. And when I expand this out, I start it starts showing me all the tables of the Z and equivalent Z tables. Let's say I want to consume that Z sales. You remember? In ECC we had the table Z sales. This was a table Z sales in ECC. Let's say I need this. Right click on this and say what? Add as virtual table. And last, you want to create this virtual table in which schema it is. I'll go with CubeX 7. I'll go with this CubeX 7 BODS. I'll say CubeX 7 BODS. So create. Now it's created. Now if I go to the top, if I go to my schema, CubeX 7 BODS, tables, I'll have a virtual table. And right click, I can see the content. Okay, suppose if I do some changes in the ECC, will it automatically reflect here? Because you're basically consuming it what? Virtually. The load is more than real time. You get the reflections immediately because you're consuming the table virtually. Boss. What did I do? For record number 5, made it as 0. You start seeing it as 0. Okay, boss? Like this, you can consume the table as a virtual tables in your HANA system, the remote source, through smart data. It is smart data access and concept. And see, you can access any table. This is the Z. If you want to go with application component wise, you can get it. Logistics, HR, finance. Always, EC is always categorized into 3: logistics, finance, and accounting. Say within logistics, you want to get into what? Let's say sales. Within sales, billing or sales orders, which is it? Mine is sales. Now within sales, I would like to get into sales order processing. Then I have this VBAC, VBAP, VBP, VBD, KONV pricing. I've got all this, and I've got customer relevant mm, sales office relevant tables, distribution channel, division, sales group, sales organization, all those tables. You can just right click on any table and say add as virtual table and start consuming. Okay. Same way, if you have an ECC running an Oracle database, you might have to use what? Oracle ECC అట్లా ఏదనక ఇది కూడా ప్రాబ్లం వస్తున్నట్టు దెర్ ఇస్ ఇంకా ఇది చాలా లేటెస్ట్ అన్నట్టు నాకు అసలు ఎక్కడ దొరకలే ఎక్కడో పట్టుకుని ఇది తెచ్చింది సాఫ్ట్వేర్ ఓకే బాస్ you just have to register this and start creating a connection and then start consuming those tables virtually. That's like what your smart data access consuming what ECC as the source. Okay. I want to do another thing like I have 200 databases here. I've got SP8 and I've got what? SP9. In SP9, I would like to consume the database of another HANA database as virtual tables. Nothing but I'm just connecting to another HANA database. Can I do this way provisioning and say what? Remote source? Q7 REM HANA something. You want to connect to what? HANA ODBC driver something, let's say. HANA adapter not. In this simplified HANA ODBC index server, and what is the server name? SAP Cubex, but port is 30 is a 00, okay. 15 username system welcome to activate. My connection is established, okay. What was it? Q7, right? Q7 expand, it starts showing me again. What is all this? These are this, you remember QTY schema. These are the schemas from where? From the remote HANA database. You can just right click expand and you can add this virtual table, start consuming it. Huh?
Schema.
Right click and right click. like this, I can consume data from remote HANA database also, remote SQL Server database. ఎలాగైనా చేయొచ్చు. సరే, can I connect the, ఇప్పుడు I've got ECS running on SQL కదా, ECS MS SQL ECS adapter is like connected to ECS application which is running on SQL. Without considering a ECC which is running on SQL, can I just straight away connect to the backend database? Yes. Then I'll use what? I'll use SQL adapter. Let's suppose right click, new remote source. I'll use which one? MS SQL generic ODBC. And what does it ask me here? Data source name. In the data source name, what is data source name or DSN? You remember DSN? So where either connect government, for example, Oracle and మళ్ళీ అడుగుతాం DSN అని అడుగుతాం. ఇప్పుడు కాన్సెప్ట్ ఏమంటే, so when you are connected to those databases, you need to know some point here. So you might have worked on some like normal DSN concept. Let's say I have some any application, let's say running on Windows, okay, and I would like to connect to a database. Let's say this is MS SQL, okay. This is running on Windows, okay. Let's say you have some application, some application running on Windows, and I want this application to connect to this MS SQL. What you do is, in the Windows, you create a DSN. Do you know how to create DSN? మనం చూసినాం కదన్నా, కంట్రోల్ ప్యానల్, ODBC driver, all items, administrative tool, ODBC driver, system DSN add, and you will use the driver. Let's say you want to connect MS SQL kada, then I'll use which driver was SQL server, and then start giving all the details, and then you create a DSN. Then in the application you start using the DSN. Clear? This is clear. Same atle ఇప్పుడు నాకేంటంటే what is the application you want to connect MS SQL here? HANA. And your application HANA is running on which OS? SUSE Linux, not Windows. In SUSE Linux, the way you create DSN is slightly different. You have to install certain different drivers and you have to create a DSN. So once I create DSN at the OS level, then while creating the remote source, I can use my DSN here. That's the concept. Okay. So using WinSAP, you can get connected to your Linux server, and then I want to show you that. Named, sir. Not WinSAP. I'm going to use Putty so that I can connect it to servers. Second. ఇక్కడ ఉండాలి నాకు. How do we search? ఒక్క నిమిషం. రూట్ లో root user HB0 లింక్ పోయి EXEలో SAP shared SPV9 ఎక్కడ ఉందమ్మా?
కొంచెం లాస్ట్
Actually, we don't do this, but we need to know that there should be some driver configured here, or only then that works in. I just want to show that driver. అంటే there was a different person who was Linux admin. He did that. So I don't know where did he place that file. He was very strong. He was placing somewhere and he was creating some shortcuts and all those stuff. Mm, there is some path. System contains file for system DSN are useful for applications. So we'll not have home right to contain our basic file. Mm, mm. User local Unix. Okay. Local Unix. Hmm. See, if you see this, if it is Windows system, how do you create? Like you get into DSN and say create new DSN, you specify driver. Same in SUSE Linux, I created driver to MS SQL Server. Look at this. I said DS, you'll have a file called odbc.ini file into this. Within that, you basically specify the driver details. First, you have to install MS SQL drivers. Then you specify the DSN in this MS SQL DSN name, and it has to use this particular drivers, which is already installed. And the IP address is this, and the port for SQL Server is 1433, and the database it has to connect is what? First, I need to create a DSN in SUSE Linux like this. Then since I've done what is my DSN name there? MS SQL. So once that is done in the OS level, what I can do? I can connect now what to MS SQL, some Q7 MS SQL. What is my DSN name? MS SQL and username PHP and they say execute. So now I just give DSN name as MS SQL. So in the OS level, it is already defined. We have defined the DSN details, say which driver it has to use, which IP address, which database server it has to connect to. Like this, you can create remote. If it is DSN, you have to first configure your DSN in the OS level and use a DSN name in the here when you want to use the ODBC driver. So in SUSE Linux, they install ODBC drivers first. If I want to connect MS SQL, I need to install ODBC MS SQL drivers, then create a DSN, then use a DSN name while creating the remote source. If you need to connect to DB2, again, first have the ODBC drivers, then install DB2 ODBC drivers, then create a DSN, use a DSN name. It's all should be done on the Linux side. Okay. ఇది కొంచెం చాలా స్లో ఉంటుంది. ఐ ఆల్రెడీ హ్యావ్ ఇట్. కొట్టిన చాలా టైం తీసుకుంటుంది. But I can expand, say whatever you could see tables of ECC, which is there in the USQL, you get to see. If I just expand, it takes a lot of time. Um, పడితే అట్లే చాలా సేపు ఉంటుంది. బట్ ఐ కెన్ ఎక్స్పాండ్ ఇట్ లేటర్. బ్రేక్ వేరే కొట్టేసి పోదాం ఓపెన్ అయి ఉంటుంది. ఓకే ఫైన్. This one of so you can now you know about accessing ECC system running SAP business suite running on some database. Even databases directly when you want to connect database directly, you need to create those DSNs and then use it here. Next is flat files. Suppose if you have flat files, can I even consume those flat files also remotely? And it's fine. Yes, because if you look at this DSN agent, we also have what is this file adapter, which I already registered it. Because I have by using this file adapter, I can consume the flat files also. The CSV files. Okay. దానికి ఎట్లా చేయాలంటే so what we do is so you've been given with some flat files, and let's say I have this folder. Yes, delete. Yes. For each adapter you have to install the drivers. Okay. See, only when you're connecting to databases leveraging ODBC drivers, you need to configure the DSN and the ODBC drivers in Line Express. But if you're connecting to MS SQL ECC adapter, that does not need any drivers, right? It needs only because you're just connecting with the application detail. That does not need any drivers. Getting what I'm saying? Okay. Let's say I have got this path, okay, where I got my 3 CSV files, which I would like to consume those in HANA database as a virtual files, as virtual tables. Okay. First, what we need to do is we need to create configuration files. Then we can leverage these configuration files in creating accessing those files in HANA. For each of the CSV file, I need to create a configuration files, which tells me what type of file, what is separator, what columns we have. We can call it as header file. Yeah. So we're able to access this flat file adapter only because we have installed what? Data provisioning agent. So if you have installed, this is a system where I've installed my agent, right? So if I go in, C user SAP, I have this data provisioning because I've installed this agent in my system. If I get to this agent utilities, create file form. See, you have this file. C user SAP data agent utilities create file format. This is a batch file. This is a batch file. By using this file, we can create the configuration files. ఈ ఫైల్ రన్ చేసి మన సోర్స్ CSV ఫైల్ ఇస్తే దాన్ని బట్టి అది కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ ఫైల్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తుంది. Okay, boss. So what I'm going to do is I use this commands to create configuration files. So I'm saying so and so. This is the file you got to run. Give the parameters as file and give the source file name and what configuration directory means what are the configuration file you're going to create. It should be created in which folder. It's create. Okay, boss. Now let's see what is that I do. I'll go to the command. See, what you have to do is, first of all, what you have installed your data provisioning agent in one system, and the flat files what you would like to consume in virtually also must be placed on the same server. In which other system you have installed DP agent, your flat files must be also placed onto the same system. Now I'm going to go to command prompt. Then what? CD user SAP. Then C user SAP. Then what? DP agent, right? Then agent utilities. Then in this you have to run what? Create file format dot bat. What is per hyphen file, and you have to give the source file. What is, let's say for contract data I'm giving. This is the path, yeah. And then what? Slash. What is the file name? Contract data. Dot CSV. Okay. Then C1FDA config directory. CFGDIR. And because that's in which folder you want the configuration file to be created. I want the configuration file also in the same folder only, not this one. This one. Say right click and say paste, and then say slash. Getting this, I said I'm running this file format, batch file with all the paths. So this is a source file, and the configuration directory folder to be created here, and just execute. And that's it. Once it is done, you see this configuration file created. Getting this? So the same way. What is the other file? Customer data. CFGDIR. Now one more configuration file comes in for customer data. Then what? Next one is what? Pivot. Dot CSV. Then my path. Yeah. CFG configuration directory is this. E file key, E folder configuration folder to create JMAT. And I get another like this. I create my configuration files by using the utility delivered by data processing agent. For each flat file, you need to have one configuration file created. Okay, and all the source files, and the configuration files are placed in which folder? This is a folder, right? I can specify that in this. Here configure preferences like adapters. And what is this here? File adapter like I can configure this saying root directory ante now only files ekkada untayi, files ekkada untayi, file format ekkada undi rendu, my files and file formats both are in the same folder. And then class be what? Access token and what to do. Okay. If you execute this command, who am I and slash user, you get this SID. This is actually the ID was. Apply and say okay. Okay. So I've set my preferences which root folder should be used. and I made my configuration file is ready. Now I can go to HANA, right click, create remote source, Q7 Q7FF, which adapter now? Flat file adapter. See, it takes this root folder all the way. Automatically I've configured in my preferences, it takes that. And the access token is the same. I just copied from that command, who am I and slash user. ఇది క్లిక్ చేసినాక పక్కన క్లిక్ చేస్తే అప్పుడు the root data value specified in the the root directory value specified in the remote source is a directory outside of the configuration configured adapter router. Specify violations. Folder about path. Cannot get remote source object. The root directory value specified in the remote source is a directory outside of the configured adapter. ఆల్రెడీ ఒకటి ఉంది, దాని ప్రాబ్లం ఉంటుంది అంతే. ఆల్రెడీ ఒకటి ఉండింది, దానికి అది ఫ్లాట్ ఫైల్స్ అనుకుంటా. అది ఎక్కడ ఉందో ఇంతకుముందు పాత was it something flat files only, right? Okay, now it's established. Now Q7, if I expand this, I can start accessing all this. So contract data.csv file. Right click and say what? Add as virtual table in Cubic 7 BODS. So create. This is a flat file one. Right click, so open control. File. It'll give file name, row number, everything, and then you get the data out. Like this, we can also consume flat file data also as a remote source through smart data access. This needs only my problem was initially was నాకు యాక్చువల్గా డెస్క్టాప్లో ఫ్లాట్ ఫైల్స్ BOD E folder vartante. I was using this folder, but this is not within the data provisioning agent. So I told you the flat files must be placed into the same configuration folder of what? DP agent లో flat files పెడితే ఆ folder లో access చేయొచ్చు. So what are the flat files you need to access? Must be placed into installation folder of data provisioning agent, then we can consume those flat files virtually. So in the real time, agent could be installed in a different system. HANA is in different system. So you got to place your files in the system where the agent is being installed. Then those can be consumed virtually. So you'll configure FTP server where you'll transfer all the files to the system where agent has been installed. Then you can start consuming those files. Okay. This is smart data access. More of a configuration kind of stuff, but once you get the table, it's all about adding as virtual tables. Okay. Now what I just want to check this is I'm giving access to this schema. I just want to create a calculation view. Let's get the projection of can I use this flat file virtual table into this? I'll have some aggregation and get this remote sales table into the aggregations and just some simple one. In fact, where is this data reading from? Now, when I do reporting on this view, ultimately I'm virtually reading it from ECC table itself. So I'm able to use these virtual tables into modeling also. I can do some selects, I can do some scripting also on the virtual tables, right? So see now, can I when I'm doing modeling on this, can I do transformations on this table? Say some calculations, some transformations, filtering, and those stuff can be done. But if I want to do some extreme level of transformations, some complex ones, because the table what is there in remotely is not ready for consumption. For initial level of some level of transformations I can do with modeling on fly. On fly I can do transformations and given. But SAP, what yesterday you've seen about BODS, right? BODS is an EIM concept, Enterprise Information Management. The same concept of EIM is brought into HANA as smart data quality and integration. Extension towards this concept. We had smart data access from SP7. From SP9, they started introducing something called smart data quality and integration. And 10 lo inka improve chesam. Okay. As part of smart data quality and integration, by using smart data access, you create connection to the sources and get the virtual tables. Now these virtual tables can be used as a source and you can do further level of transformations like an ETL tool within HANA, like how you're doing it in BODs, which is what we do it as part of smart data quality and integration. And this part of ETL can be done in real time or can be done in batch mode, either ways. But there's only while designing your jobs, it's only a simple radio button is a difference. Like you say real time or non-real. If you say real time, it executes it means as and when they do some posting in the ECC, automatically the record will be transformed and placed into another tape. That is real time. But for me, the latest so I can only do in batch mode. Now real time mode, error or something, but it's only about selecting the radio button.
Virtual.
Hmm.
So no loading, right?
No loading. But if it comes to smart data quality integration, it is loading. It leaves virtual table as a source object. In BODs, you have source, target, and transformation. So now we can start using this virtual table as source object and physical table as target object and do transformations in the middle. Same like BODs. That is what we call the smart data quality and integration. Okay. Now let's see how to do it. So now we're trying to look at this. When we create calculation view or the virtual tables, it ultimately reads from, it does use calculation, but reading is from where? For ECC. It does read data from ECC, then on top of those virtual data which is read, it does do massaging with what? Calculation engine, right? Yeah. So to work on smart data quality integration, we have to get into what? What is this? HANA native development. Okay. So if you have got to get into HANA native development, now we're focusing on smart SM. This is still in the initial stage of development. SAP is still going to enhance this to the larger extent. So get into HANA development. And I need to create some project and then start working and creating my jobs or data flows. In BODs, how do you create your data flows? Same I need to create my data flows here. If I need to do this, I need to have some project. Under the project, I can start creating my flow graphs. So my intention is this. I already have this package, right? 7QX models. Under this, I would like to create one package and create all the flows, data flows. I'll say SMQI enter. Okay, this is my package. Under this package, I would like to create all my data flows. Okay. So in the server, I would have a folder called what? SMQI. Let me map my server folder to my local folder and create my folder, create my data flow locally, and then publish onto the same folder in my server. So it's like you create your design time file in a local system, and when you basically place it into the server, it creates a runtime object. So for that, what we do is we create a workspace which is mapped to a local folder, either a local. Okay. Because for all the smart data quality integration, we will be using agent, because agent is the one which actually replicates the data real time or in background. So this must be up. Okay. First of all, data processing agent must be configured before you get on working on all this. Yeah. So what I want to do, I just want to create some local folder. So I'll say new Cubex 7 local folder. In a local folder. Okay. So you're in HANA native development. In the repositories, you'll just create your own repository. Right click, workspace, create a repository workspace. I'll not use default. I'll use my own Cubex 7. I'll map this repository to which folder? Local. This is my workspace, okay, which is the local folder. Now I mapped my server to this folder, okay. This is my workspace name, yeah. E workspace like what I want to do is Cubex 7. What is my package? This is a package I want to create. So what are the folder structure I have in my server? I'll bring it to local. Then in that folder structure, like if I create my files and publish, it gets out the same folder in my server. Right click on this package and say checkout. When I do this, automatically local folder, your workspace, it creates a package called what? 7cubex, and it creates a folder called what? Local folder, I'll create my local files and publish. Then in the server, it places them into the same folder called what? Smart data called SMQI in 7cubex. So I'll go to my project, I'll create my own project. Drop down, I'll say what? Create a project. Because you're working on HANA native development, which leverages XS engine. So you're going to create what? XS project. Project Cubex 7 Smart Data Quality Integrations. I'll not use this default location. I will create my project local. Local is ekkada kavali. Cubex 7 local folder lo దాంట్లో ఈ folder లో క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం. సపరేట్ గా ఆ folder లోనే ఉంటుంది. And where is mine? P Cubex. This one, yeah. This is not active. Right click on this and activate this team and say what? Share project. Share with the అంటే ఇప్పుడు project local system లో ఉంది. I'm sharing with the repository, so the project gets created in my server. Say finish. ఇప్పుడు యాక్చువల్లీ ప్రాజెక్ట్ ఎక్కడ క్రియేట్ అయినట్టు ఇక్కడ చూస్తే తెలుస్తుంది నీకు. చూడు ప్రాజెక్ట్ అనేది ఇక్కడ ఇట్ హస్ కమ్ ఇంటూ వాట్ SMQA folder, కానీ you don't get to see that here. ఇక్కడ కనపడదు. Objects are only visible in HANA development perspective. Okay. ఈ SMQA కింద ఇంకో సబ్ ఫోల్డర్ కావాలి. I just want to create some another sub folder in my server. So you can right click on this, new, I will say new folder. I'll just say data flows, just some folder. So this folder is like a package. SMQA kinda, it is creating one more package called what? Data. Activate jelly. Hidden the folder. Okay. Now under this folder, I would like to create all my, in BODs, you create a job and data flow. Same way, here I create my data flow, where I'll take source, I'll take target, and then do mappings. Okay. So what I'll do, just select this folder, right click, say new, others. When you go to application develop, not application. When you go to data, under this, okay. SAP HANA database development, you see this something called flow graph model. When you select this flow graph model, it is going to create some file with the extension called HDB flow graph. Flow, nothing but data flow definition. Select this and say next. Ikkada is, you give the file name. I'll say demo1. You want to click, you want to do drag and drop and create your data flow. Whatever the data flow you've created, internally it creates a stored procedure for the data flow. No drag and drop this. If you create some data flow, internally it is going to create some stored procedure in the backend. Okay. And then if you select this, then you can run that stored procedure in the background. When you run the trigger the procedure, it reads data from source, does the transformation, puts into target table. Go to task plan and task plan and same thing. It creates stored procedure as a task which can be scheduled in real time. So if you want that as a real time job, then I'll select as what? Task plan. If you want the background, then I'll select as what? stored process. నాకు background first say finish. So it would create a file with extension HDB flow graph. ఇది flow graph అన్న. ఇది మొత్తం flow graph. Right, first configure this properties. Then properties కి వెళ్ళి name is okay. Display name, you want to change something or display name is all fine. Description is your target schema. The importance of this target schema is you want to create this flow graph with all the drag and drop, and then you're going to activate. What does it do? It is going to create a procedure. In which schema do you want the procedure to be created? I would say Cubex 7 BODS so that let it create a procedure in that schema. Cubex 7 BODS. Okay. You want to create it as a procedure or a task? Real time it must see only task పెట్టినప్పుడు నాకు a real time checkbox enable. Then it becomes ఇంత ఇది పెడితే real time అయిపోయినట్టు. అర్థమైందండి? Otherwise there is no difference. It's all same. నేను run చేయలేను అంతే. I have some configuration problem. Procedure is okay. I said this is procedure which is going to be background. Good. Now I can start. See now in the right hand side you see all this general and మన BODS ఎట్లుంటే join, union, filter, procedure, AFL functions, predictive library functions, business function library. ఇంకా suppose if నేను real time పెడితే ఇక్కడ టాస్క్ పెడితే ఇది చూడండి ఇంకా ఎక్స్ట్రా వస్తుంది చూడండి when I put that as task డేటా గుర్తున్నాయి డేట్ జనరేషన్ రో జనరేషన్ కేసు పివోట్ అన్పివోట్ లుక్అప్ ఇవి ఉంది ఎక్కడ టేబుల్ కంపారిజన్ మ్యాప్ ఇవన్నీ సింబల్స్ కూడా చూడే సేమ్ ఎక్కడ ఇవ్వండి బిఓటి ఆ కాన్సెప్ట్ అంతా ఇక్కడికి వచ్చేస్తుంది ఇంకా SP9 వాజ్ ఫ్లాప్ బికాస్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ ఇంకా అంత ఎర్రర్స్ ఉండింది 10లో దిస్ వాజ్ కంప్లీట్లీ సాల్వ్ ఓకే ఓకే Okay, now what I'll do, I'll take that virtual table. First example in just at virtual table, go table and load take what do you do? Data source, log. Data source saying all. The EHP, remote, EHP underscore remote. This was a virtual table you access, EHP underscore remote underscore jet sales Cubex 7 BODS a virtual table తెచ్చుకున్న source. Virtual table is normal table. You can also use normal table also as a source. No issues. మళ్ళీ దీన్ని పట్టుకుని దీని ప్రాపర్టీస్ కాన్ఫిగర్ చేయండి. This is from BODS. Suppose if it is a real time job, even in the source table you should enable this as what? First data flow properties, then the source object properties you should enable it as real time. Otherwise, and then I want to collect this data into some table. Did we already create a table in HANA to collect this data? No. So in BODS, when we have this type of situation, what is it? You do template table. You could do data sync. Template table. What is? And then connect this to this. Then if you go to template table proper, template table is okay. And in the template table properties, you can say in which schema it should create that table. In which schema you want? Cubex 7 BODS. I'll say copy jet sales. Jet sales data copy out column store table. And even if before load you want truncate table and load, you can do that. And data flow created. Then you say what is it? Activate this. I can do this way. Team and show activate. చూడండి ఇక్కడ ఆరెంజ్ సింబల్ వస్తే ఇట్ ఇస్ బీన్ యాక్టివేటెడ్ పర్ఫెక్ట్లీ. ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడికి వచ్చి ఇక్కడ now if you drop down this ఏంది ఇది ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ ఇన్ ఎడిటర్ ఓపెన్ ఇన్ ఎడిటర్ అంటే ఏంది నువ్వు ఇట్లా యాక్టివేట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఏమైంది లోపల ఒక ప్రొసీజర్ క్రియేట్ అయ్యింది ఓపెన్ ఇన్ ఎడిటర్ అంటే చూడ ఏమవుతుంది ఆ ఎడిటర్లోకి ఇట్ ఈస్ బ్రింగింగ్ అవుట్ స్టేట్మెంట్ విత్ వాట్ కాల్ అండ్ వాట్ ప్రొసీజర్ తెస్తాను అది నాకు కూడా వచ్చు డ్రాప్ డౌన్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ అంటే what are the statement we had like call procedure? It is calling, it is going to execute that procedure out. Okay, మనం అట్లా కాకుండా నాకు మాన్యువల్గా చేయాలనుకున్నా. Let me go ahead. మనది ఏంటంటే స్కీమ్ అంతా మనం హ్యాండిల్ చేసి క్యూబెక్స్ 7 BODSలోకి వెళ్తే షుడ్ యూ సీ అ ప్రొసీజర్ ఇయర్ 7 క్యూబెక్స్ SMQA డేటా ఫ్లోస్ : డెమో 1 ఇది ప్రొసీజర్ అండి. ఐ కెన్ రైట్ నార్మల్ కాల్ ఇన్పుట్ ఏం లేదు. సరే అది రన్ చేయకముందు ఇంకా రన్ చేయలేదు. రన్ చేయకముందు ఇక్కడ యూ హ్యావ్ టేబుల్ కాల్ కాపీ జెడ్ సేల్స్. ఈ కాపీ జెడ్ సేల్స్ లో డేటా ఉంటుందా? లేదు. సో ఆఫ్టర్ ఎగ్జిక్యూట్ దిస్ ప్రొసీజర్ విల్ స్టార్ట్ గెటింగ్ ద డేటా ఇన్. అంతే ఇదన్నా. Like configuring data flows like this within the AIM concept of HANA is what smart data quality and integration is. Yeah. Other and say it's flow graph model, demo 2 procedure. Let's see what Chinna, I just want to do some కొన్ని 2015 0101 ఉన్నాయి, కొన్ని 0415 ఉన్నాయి. సో I'm interested on this 015 2015 0101. I just want to establish some filtering kind of stuff, some data source. But ఆ ఫిల్టరింగ్ అని నువ్వు వ్యూలో చేయగలుగుతావు. సింపుల్ లెవెల్ ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్స్ ఐ కెన్ డూ ఆన్ ఫ్లై విత్ వాట్ మోడలింగ్ ఇట్స్. ఏదైనా ఎక్స్ట్రీమ్ వచ్చినప్పుడు ఐ కెన్ డూ దట్. I do this and then I take what? First of all, దీని ప్రాపర్టీస్ లో కాన్ఫిగర్ చేసి ఓకే దెన్ ఐ కనెక్ట్ అప్పుడు అన్నిటి connect this input to what? Input. You would go to filter properties. Here's a filter expression. Where air dat is equal to that's my filter expression. After filtering, I would collect that into some temporary table. And I want this temporary table properties to be created this in what? Copy filter sales. Sorry, that is schema name. You want that in what? Cubex 7 BODS. And that's it. And then you basically activate that. So I'm able to trigger all this because I've got my agent already configured. At like inko procedure available demo 2 ani, and you should see a table here. Copy filter data unda ledu. So I'll execute this call. And can we schedule this procedure in the background? There is something called .xs job. We'll see that later. There is something called .xs job where we can say action is this procedure, schedule daily ones and procedure daily ones run. I can schedule it like that. Run aithe you should get the data filtered out. Only 2015 0101 data. Now data actually 66 and no, but it just brings in only this. Like this you can apply filtering. And ఇష్టానుసారం చేయొచ్చు అన్నట్టు విత్ ఇన్ ది రిసోర్స్. ఇక్కడ అట్లా ఏం లేదు, ఆటోమేటిక్. ఇది నాకు ఎగ్జాక్ట్ ఏమో డేటా సింక్ అంటుంది. సో ఐ కెన్ రన్ దట్ ఆల్సో నెక్స్ట్ టైం. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఐ ఫిజికల్ గా టేబుల్ క్రియేట్ అయిపోతాం. సో డోంట్ హ్యావ్ టు వరీ. ఓకే వర్చువల్ పెట్టుకోండి, అది పెట్టలేము అన్నట్టు ఉండాలి డౌట్. Demo 3. నీకేంది పరిస్థితి? ఇది ఫిజికల్ టేబుల్ అయినా జెడ్ సేల్స్ వాడచ్చా?
టార్గెట్ సోర్స్
వాడచ్చు వాడచ్చు. అది క్రియేట్ చేసేది వాడచ్చు అంటావా? వాడచ్చు. ఇప్పుడు డేటా సింక్ టెంప్లెట్ కాకుండా డేటా సింక్ అంటే అప్పుడు ఫిజికల్ టేబుల్ చెప్పాల్సి వస్తుంది. ఇప్పుడు కాపీ ఫిల్టర్, ఇప్పుడు ఏంది ఇది? ఈ స్కీమాలో ఉన్న ఫిజికల్ టేబుల్ అది. డేటా సోర్స్ ఈహెచ్పి, దీని నుంచి ఫిజికల్ టేబుల్ వాడినట్టు. So I can also use procedure here. And I can take some table input, okay, procedure, you can develop some procedure and use that procedure here. Procedure like వెళ్తే దాని ప్రాపర్టీస్ వేరేగా ఉంటాయి అన్నట్టు. If you go to properties, ఏంది ఆ స్కీమా, ప్రొసీజర్ ఉండే స్కీమా అయింది, అది ఏ దాంట్లో ఉంది ఏందని యూ హావ్ టు కాన్ఫిగర్ ఆల్ దిస్. అట్లా యూ కెన్ యూజ్ లాట్స్ ఆఫ్ ఫంక్షన్స్, ఇంకా క్లస్టరింగ్ అని చెప్పి చాలా ప్రెడిక్ట్ అనలిటిక్స్ ఫంక్షన్స్ ఉంటాయి, టైమ్ సిరీస్. యూ కెన్ యూజ్ ఆల్ దిస్ అండ్ క్రియేట్ కాంప్లెక్స్ డేటా ఫ్లోస్. అల్టిమేట్ this is still in the initial stage అన్నట్టు, this concept, but there is a concept like this. అండ్ ఇంకా కొద్దిగా చూడాలనుకున్నాం అనుకో, యూ వాంట్ టు సీ సంథింగ్ మోర్ ఆన్ దిస్, యూఆర్ ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్ ఆన్ దిస్, అండ్ యూట్యూబ్కి వెళ్తే ఈ స్మార్ట్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్కి వెళ్తే యూ సీ దిస్ ఎస్డిఐ అని ఉంటుంది. హౌ టు క్రియేట్ ఫ్లో గ్రాఫ్స్, ఫైండ్ టేబుల్, రిమోట్ టేబుల్, క్రియేట్ మ్యాచ్ పాలసీస్ అని కొన్ని చిన్న చిన్న ట్రాన్స్ఫర్మేషన్. రివర్స్ పివోటింగ్ ఎలా చేయొచ్చు, అనాడా. ఓకే బాస్. ఇంకా ఐ షోడ్ యూ అబౌట్ కాన్ఫిగరింగ్ ఓడిబిసి డ్రైవర్స్ కదా. ఇఫ్ యూ గో టు స్మార్ట్ డేటా యాక్సెస్కి వెళ్తే అది చూపిస్తుంది, అది కూడా ఉంటుంది. యూ సీ దిస్ స్మార్ట్ డేటా ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ అండ్ ఆల్సో స్మార్ట్ డేటా యాక్సెస్కి వెళ్తే దీంట్లో ఓడిబిసి you can search for ODBC driver configurations అంటే MS SQL ODBC drivers. ఈ 3 of 4, 1 of ఆ 3 of 4 కొడితే అది దొరుకుతాయి. 2 of 4, 1 of 4 ఉంటుంది. అక్కడ యూ జస్ట్ సీ దోస్ 4 వీడియోస్ దట్ విల్ షుడ్ టెల్ యూ ఎట్లా మనం డ్రైవర్స్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేయాలి, ఎక్కడ కాన్ఫిగర్ చేయాలని ఇట్ టెల్స్ యూ ఆన్ ఆల్ దిస్. Okay, boss. Yeah. So this is your smart data quality and integration. This is just initial phase. Don't have to worry. So ఇంకా ఎవరు వాడటంలే, కొత్తగా టాపిక్ వచ్చింది అది. సో విత్ దిస్ ఫ్యూచర్ వాట్ వీ ట్రైంగ్ టు సీ ఇస్ బిఓడిఎస్ కాన్సెప్ట్ అంతా దీంట్లో పెట్టేసరికి, సో హనా విల్ బి ఫుల్ బ్లోన్ వేర్ హౌస్ లాగా వస్తుంది. బికాస్ ఇట్ హ్యావ్ ఈటెల్ కాన్సెప్ట్. He'll use that smart data access as a BW soliciting connections. He creates a connections. Then use this to create your data flows. So you can do transformations in the backend. You can do transformations in the on-fly also with HANA modeling, and then reporting with business R type. And if required, you can create your own applications. R range HANA. It will become a full-blown system. అది వాళ్ళ ఫోకస్. ఏఎం ఉంటుంది, మోడలింగ్ ఉంటుంది, డేటాబేస్ ఉంటుంది, అప్లికేషన్ డెవలప్ ఇట్లా ఇట్స్ అప్లికేషన్ సర్వర్, ఇట్ విల్ బి ఎండ్ టు ఎండ్ సిస్టమ్. దట్స్ వాట్ ఈస్ ట్రైంగ్ టు ఫోకస్. ఓకే. So I'm stopping it here. With this, we are done with complete data provisioning techniques. We've seen about SLT, DXC, BODS, smart data access, quality and integration. But you know, okay. But practically, when you come in, the major one should be SLT and BODS, which you would leverage it a lot. And also we can go with smart data access. Also nowadays they start smart data access వాడుతున్నారు, where they're referring to tables virtually. అది బాగా వాడుతున్నారు. These three you can project into your profile resume లో. Now the discussion is which what ఎలా అంటే okay, you worked on a project. So what was the what data project techniques you worked on? మనం ఏంటంటే SLT, BODS, smart data access అంటాం. అనగానే first question you would ask is how many tables did you replicate? Did you replicate all the tables with SLT? Then why did you use BODS? When you're replicating all the tables with SLT, why did you use BODS? Question. When you're using BODS, why did you use SLT? Okay. మనం ఎట్లా చెప్పాలంటే there was modeling or reporting requirement in HANA. For specific requirements, we wanted to have real-time reporting. Only for those requirements, we have used SLT and replicated real-time replication with tables. For other reporting, where it was not real-time required, we have leveraged BODS and we leveraged ODP, data sources concepts, and extracted data into HANA. Our concept. ఎందుకంటే when I go to the users and say I'll give you real-time reporting అంటే ఎవడు అడగడన్నా కూడా చూపించక బాగుంటుంది. ఏంది it's about making a video and projecting saying it's real-time. In some business case it is important, but it doesn't make sense to do real-time reporting in every case. What SAP says ఏమంటే నాకు సూపర్ మార్కెట్ ఉంది, say from morning 9 o'clock my business starts. By 10 I see a lot of sales for some product, and if I can complement that to another product, I can sell other product or link చేయగలిగితే immediately they start announcing some offers అనుకో. So I want those, అది రియల్ టైం. I want real time. For example, మేజర్ ప్రాబ్లం రియల్ టైంలో ఏమంటే ఫ్రూట్స్ ఎత్తిపోతే పెరిషబుల్ ప్రోడక్ట్స్ ఉంటాయి అంటే ఫ్రూట్స్ చెడిపోతాయి కదా, ఫ్రూట్స్ మిగిల్చకుండా అమ్మాయిలు, అది కాన్సెప్ట్. అర్థమైంది అంటే సే బై ద టైం బనానాస్ ఎత్తిపోతున్నాను అప్పుడు ఆఫర్ ఇవ్వాలి, అది రియల్ టైం రిపోర్ట్. సో ఇన్ దోస్ బిజినెస్ కేసెస్ ఐ మైట్ నీడ్ రియల్ టైం రిపోర్టింగ్, బట్ ఇట్ డజంట్ మీన్ లెట్స్ ఐ వాంట్ టు సీ my total balance sheet I don't need it as a real time report. I can just look at any day I want. So మనం ఏం project చేస్తామంటే for certain business requirements where they wanted to understand, like say ఇంకోటి ఇలా ఉంటుంది ఫుట్ఫాల్ నుంచి ఫుట్ఫాల్ అనలిటిక్స్ అని ఉంటుంది. అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనకు in some shops when you go in you will find 2 bars ఇక్కడ రైట్ సైడ్ లెఫ్ట్ లో. నువ్వు పోతుంటే కనుక్కుంటాడు అన్నమాట, అంటే ఎంతమంది పోతున్నట్టు రికార్డ్ అవుతుంటున్నాం లేజర్తో కనుక్కుని ఎంతమంది ఎంటర్ అయినారు షాపులో ఇప్పుడు ఎక్కువ మంది ఉన్నారా తక్కువ మంది ఉన్నారా, దాన్ని బట్టి కూడా అనలిటిక్స్ ఇస్తాడు అన్నమాట. ఓకే. ఇంకా డెప్త్ ఏమంటే వెళ్ళేటోడు ఆడోళ్ళ మగోళ్ళ పిల్లోళ్ళ ఏంది కాన్సెప్ట్, దాన్ని బట్టి పిల్లలు ఎక్కువ మంది ఉంటే చాక్లెట్ల బేస్ మీద ఆఫర్లు ఇస్తాడు, ఆడోళ్ళు ఎక్కువ ఉంటే వంట సామాన్ల మీద ఆఫర్లు ఎక్కువ ఇస్తాడు. ఆ లెవెల్కి వెళ్తుందంట అనలిటిక్స్ అంటే. దట్స్ వాట్ దేర్ ఫోకస్ ఇస్ ఆన్. సో ఇన్ దోస్ కేస్ యూ నీడ్ రియల్ టైమ్ కాన్సెప్ట్. ఓకే. Majorly in the retail sector, but if you get into banking and those kind of stuff, you don't really need any real time much. So what real time scenario, wherever the reporting required was real time replication required, we leveraged SLT. We wanted only 20 to 25 tables, which we leveraged SLT for it. In other cases where we wanted to have reporting, we have used normal BODS, extracted data sources from leveraging ODP data source, extracted data into HANA. The people who project as enterprise HANA without BW concept. If you're going to project as BW HANA, you will say majority of the case it was BW which is doing ETL part, and we are leveraging HANA only for modeling. That's the concept. Ala raval. If it is BW HANA, BODs will not come into picture because BOW will do all the ETL part. Then I was using ETL part of BW and leveraging modeling of HANA. If there is no BW, if you're using enterprise HANA, then you will project saying I will leverage BODs for background processing, real-time replication, SLT. And SLT also can be configured to BW. That's all. I think we project JLC. And in some scenarios where we wanted to have virtual tables to be connected, we have used smart data access. That's the concept. This is what you're going to project. Okay. And then what entered? So you worked on BODs, so you know BODs under. So now I don't know BODs. What I say is, I don't know BODs. There was some dedicated BODs consultant who was basically pushing data into HANA tables. But I was closely working with them to just telling them which table they should feed in and all this. And I was just looking at how BODs works, and I've just learned BODs on fly on Java. I know what is what, but I've not worked explicitly, and I was just looking at them working. Amad and Java. That's what. Okay.
So it is virtual table, so small size on that.
Good question. What scenario did you use smart data access? In what scenario did you use smart data access? Because say now HANA, we are using HANA for performance issues, and you're using smart data access and connecting to SQL Server database, accessing virtually, then where is your performance? You're going to lose the performance. Okay. There is one best scenario where they use this smart data access in pharma company. What they've done is they had a scenario like this: BW on HANA, ECC on HANA. Okay, and they were not allowed to install HANA live in ECC on HANA. So what they've done? They've implemented HANA live in what? In BW HANA system, and they wanted to, and the HANA live is built on which one? On ECC tables, not on BW tables, right? So they've consumed all the ECC HANA tables in BW HANA system through smart data access. So source is also HANA, target is also HANA. I'm connecting HANA ECC HANA database to BW HANA database as smart data remote source, consuming all the tables of ECC as virtual tables, and on top of this, my HANA live is implemented. So source would HANA kabatti, or even though I access virtual, I don't have problems. Okay, but if the source is SQL Server or something, it doesn't make sense. And another option is by using smart data access, we can also integrate Hadoop also. So future, it's going to be like all your SAP systems will push data into HANA, all your non-SAP data will be into Hadoop, and Hadoop will integrate to HANA through smart data access. That's future. All SAP systems will sit on one HANA database instance. So any SAP data and all SAP non-SAP data they'll push into Hadoop, and from there Hadoop it will get integrated to HANA, and HANA will be the one point of contact for the entire enterprise data. That's focus. Okay, so this is what you're going to handle. And then SLT question less smart data access mall and seen general a level of layer, but still they might ask you some questions on smart data quality integration something. BODS. Just tell them I know about local repository, central repositories, BODS integration towards BW and all this, but not explicitly worked on. I've just learned on fly and covered it simple. Because you are an HANA consultant, your role is for HANA, not for the BODS. So you got to project it like that. Where a consultant would not want to work this, I just picking it on fly and it. Okay, was fine. So we'll stop it here, and from tomorrow we're going to start with BW followed by HANA. Okay, thanks. From BW perspective, we need not mention any data project. Yeah, if you're projecting saying BW on HANA, you don't have to project about any SLT or something. You can project SLT also. Still, what you can do is you can say even if it is BW HANA for real-time replication, we'll still integrate SLT to BW అని చెప్పుకోవచ్చు. And for others, normal ETL part of BW. And still, you also want to project BOD's integration to BW కూడా చెప్పాలనుకున్నాను. నీకు వచ్చి కూడా చెప్పాలనుకున్నాను. Then they say there was some DB2 system which we were not able to integrate into BW directly because of resource constraint. So through BODS, we integrated DB2 to BW. So again, the real-time replication for some of the tables through SLT and normal loading of ECC to BW, normal BW concept, ETL concept. And in some scenarios where we are not able to integrate BW source directly to BW, we are leveraging what? BODS as a middleware layer and connecting to BW. I showed a BW integration and BODS, you should project that. Then it covers, and all the data comes into BW layer, and ultimately the data sits in what? Underlying HANA. And underlying HANA, you do HANA modeling and then start doing reporting either with BEX or with HANA BO directly. That's the concept. That should be the profile ఆ range లో కవర్ చేయాలి అట్లా. So I was involved in integrating BODS to BW. I was involved in doing normal BW LO extraction, generic extraction, so SLT configured to BW, HANA modeling, managing HANA databases. అట్లా ఆ పాయింట్లు రావాలి. ఓకేనా? ఫైన్. నువ్వు BW లేదంటే ఇట్లా రావాలి. SLT, BODS ఇంటూ HANA మోడలింగ్, BO రిపోర్టింగ్ అట్లా రావాలి. ఫైన్ బస్. ఓకే. Yeah, in that case, you can also, I told you, right, real-time SLT can use for HANA modeling. We still need some data flowing techniques. But BW itself is a full-blown ETL. If there's something which you can't achieve with BW, then I'll leverage BODS to integrate other systems. If not, I can leverage SLT for real-time replications. Thanks.